Hello everybody, and welcome to another iceberg on this channel. First of all, no, I'm not going to become one of those iceberg channels. Second of all, I know what everybody's thinking. If you watch the World War II iceberg, or at least the last one, I said I'm going to put all of my time and effort into that iceberg and researching everything on that. I lied, because I hate myself. You see, here's the thing about creepypastas, okay? They're a huge part of my life. In fact, this channel started as a Minecraft YouTube channel, but after doing Minecraft YouTube videos, I kind of wanted to delve into like doing creepypasta readings, so I did. So there were creepypasta readings on this channel at a point. So yes, creepypastas have been a big part of this channel in the past. Obviously, they are so far gone. They are deleted permanently. I don't have them on any of my backup hard drives. I don't have them anywhere, and I'm happy with that. I'm gonna keep it that way. I don't want to hear that because I was like 13, maybe 14. That shit sounded awful, okay? Anyways, so I wanted to go back to my roots. I wanted to do something that's very close to home. So I decided I was going to do a creepypasta iceberg. Here's the thing. Everybody's covered creepypasta icebergs. Everybody and their mom has covered one of these. But I decided I'd do it a little fun, you know, throw some fun in there. So we're going to be ranking every single one of the creepypastas on this iceberg. And I mean the entire iceberg. And I'm going to be ranking them from S all the way down to F. Maybe I'll add my own tier. It just depends. Anyways, without further ado, how about we just go ahead and jump into the iceberg. If you want to see more of this iceberg, I'm going to immediately put this in the beginning of the video, but if you want to see more of the iceberg, please give a like to this video, please comment that you want to see more, and please subscribe, because it'll really help me out. Anyways, moving on. Our first entry today is Jeff the Killer. Now, if you've been around on the internet long enough, you definitely know this image. If you have not seen this image whatsoever, then I am so fucking like, I'm jealous. I wish I was you. I wish I was in your position because I hate this image. Like, genuinely, I hate the Jeff the Killer image with every part of my being. Something about it really does just scare me. It's just terrifying for some reason, and I don't know why. I'm 24 years old, okay? That shit should not affect me anymore. But of course, it still does. Personally, I'd say that the Jeff the Killer image is way more popular than the story or like the creepypasta that surrounds him. And for good reason, because the creepypasta that surrounds Jeff the Killer is dog shit. It was definitely written by some emo teen. It was definitely written by some edgy motherfucker who thought, I don't know how to write a story. I saw this creepy image on the internet. I want to write something based off of it. Fuck it. Let's do it. It's so poorly written. If you have ever gone back to read the Jeff the Killer like creepypasta, it's terrible. It's awful. And I mean, everybody knows of it because of like the ending where he says something along the lines of, "Aren't I pretty, mommy?" or some shit like that. And then the mom and dad are just like, "We gotta fucking put that kid down." Wait. Alright, we gotta put that fucker down. So, this, by the way, YouTube, this is fake. This is an airsoft gun, it's not real, okay? There's another famous quote from the Jeff the Killer creepypasta that I'm trying to remember, and it's like in every single one of the like fan art of Jeff the Killer, you see this specific quote like behind him or like somewhere in the like fan art. Obviously, I'll throw it up on screen with some fan art to go with it so you know what I'm trying to say. But aside from the image itself, that's like the most well-known part of the Jeff the Killer creepypasta. Anyways, moving on, because I seriously, I hate it. It's stupid. It's dumb. And I told you all that I was going to rank these. So where do I put Jeff the Killer on my tier list? I'm gonna put Jeff the Killer at B tier. Look, like I said in the beginning, okay? The image is there's something about it that haunts me, okay? But the story is so stupid that it drags it down by so much. But that image, no matter how many times I try, I cannot stare at it without getting chills. It's something about it's just creepy, okay? It's like uncanny almost. Anyways, moving on. Slenderman. Okay, everybody and their mom knows Slenderman. If you haven't heard about Slenderman, you are absolutely living under a rock. There's no doubt about it. Slenderman started as like a bunch of pictures that some dude photoshopped of like this tall white guy with like a black suit and like tentacles. And when I say white face, like I mean pure white, not like white like this. I mean like pure white, like the color white, all right? And no eyes, no mouth, no nose, no hair, no ears, no nothing, okay? No discernible features. And this dude just went on, I think it was the Something Awful forums, posted a bunch of these photoshopped images and added some stories to go with them. And obviously people saw these and they were just like, wait, that's kind of cool. I like that. And so they would start forming their own stories to go along with his and being like, I remember hearing about it back in the day. There was some submariners or whatever the fuck that saw it. I don't know. I'm pulling some shit out my ass. But there were people that were so interested in it that they did add their own stories and he would make pictures to go with it. And obviously the story of Slenderman would go and take a life of its own afterwards. And I mean that in two ways. I mean in a way that the Slenderman mythos became a huge thing. He's technically a mythological creature more than he is a creepypasta, but he's more so a creepypasta than anything else. And it's a cautionary tale, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And when I say take a life of its own, I also am talking about the fact that there were those two kids who really liked Slenderman and sacrificed their friend to Slenderman. Thankfully, that girl did not die despite being stabbed. I believe it was like 80-something times. And the name is Slenderman. Despite this, she lived and she crawled out of the woods, and those two are still being held. What is it? They're on trial right now. I don't know if their trial is over or what, but yeah, it's a pretty fucked up story. Anyways, everybody knows Slenderman. If you haven't seen Slenderman, again, you're probably living under a rock. If you haven't heard that story about Slenderman, again, you're probably living under a rock. Moving on. For me personally, I'm gonna put Slenderman in A tier because he's really, like again, he takes a life of its own. And there's that game that everybody remembers playing back in like 2011, 2012, whatever. And there's just, he's kind of like the start for creepypasta mythological creatures. Like he is the quintessential, he's the one that everybody thinks of in a way. I don't know how to really put it. He's just kind of in his own field for just, it's good. That's it. That's all I have to say is it's good, but it's not like the best ever. Okay. It's A tier, but I'm not going to put it any higher than A tier. It's really good. The Photoshops do bring it down a point. Okay. I probably would have put it in S tier if not for the fucking Photoshops because they're really cheesy and poorly done. Anyways, moving on. So a lot of you are probably going to make fun of me here. I had not heard of Eyeless Jack until doing this fucking this iceberg, okay? I didn't hear about Eyeless Jack whatsoever. I saw pictures of Eyeless Jack. I mean, everybody's seen like the infamous picture of like the white mask with just like no eyes, eyeless, and like a blue hoodie. Everybody's seen that image floating around. The one that's probably put in this video for the picture to go with this subject, but I hadn't heard about it. I never really delved deep into the creepypasta itself, but essentially it's just covering some dude who moved in with his older brother, and within like the first night he hears somebody breaking through his window. He wakes up, there's like a big gash on his cheek, and he's like, oh, that's fucking weird. Anyways, moving on, lock my window, I guess. Next night, he wakes up, the dude's there again, and he freaks out. He grabs his camera, takes a picture of the dude for whatever reason. I don't know why you would. Runs away, wakes up the next week, maybe the next day, I don't remember exactly, in the hospital, finds out that his brother is dead, and that's it. That's where the story ends. And that picture that he took is the one that comes with the story that everybody sees. Again, the one that's attached to this fucking story. Now, obviously, the question is, where would I put Eyeless Jack on my tier list? I gotta put it at C tier because the story is shit. The picture's not really that creepy. And admittedly, the only thing it really plays on is your fear of somebody breaking into your house, which is a very common fear for A, people who live alone, and B, people who just live in a fucking house in general. Anyone's gonna be scared of that shit. So, yes, it plays on that fear, but I don't know. It's just something about the story is so lackluster. There's not much there to go off of, and again, Eyeless Jack himself is not that creepy. So yeah, C tier. When I was doing research into this iceberg, I noticed that there's a lot, and I mean a lot, of J names and a lot of just humanoid people, like humans who have creepypastas about them, like humans who just suddenly go crazy and decide, oh, I'm gonna become a fucking stabbing murderer, and I mean stabbing murderer, like they get fucking kitchen knives like they're fucking Freddy. Wait, Freddy has claws. I'm so fucking stupid. I meant Jason. Wait, I didn't mean Jason. Jason has a fucking Michael. There we go. Jesus Christ. Oh my god. I want to cut that out, but that is so funny how bad that is on my part that I'm going to keep that in. Laughing Jack is just one of those stories that it feels like it's just trying way too hard to be gory. And I mean way too hard to be gory. Like, oh, I woke up one night to the sound of fucking like the Pop Goes the Weasel, went downstairs in my kitchen, and my dog's guts were all over the fucking place, and he was hanging from the ceiling. What the fuck? Okay, I don't know. It's not creepy. It's not scary. The only thing that really gets you is, again, Pop Goes the Weasel, like picturing that. And a lot of the people who cover it and make videos about it, you hear the Pop Goes the Weasel, and you're like, oh, that's fucking creepy. But that's, or like him taking a life in your dream, or like him coming to you in your nightmares, like he's fucking Freddy Krueger. Hey, there we go. I got one right. Like he's fucking Freddy Krueger going into your dreams and like doing some It type shit. You know, that's really all that I could find in it that was kind of creepy. But other than that, it's just a story about some mom who's just like, oh, hey, son, you got an imaginary friend? What's his name? Laughing Jack. Oh, Laughing Jack, that's crazy. Hey, you got candy? You shouldn't be having candy, Laughing Jack. Oh, I don't like that. I want him to have candy. I'm gonna go fucking kill your dog and stuff him with candy. See what happens next time you try to take that candy away from your fucking kid. Okay. Oh, and now I'm gonna kill your kid to teach you a real lesson. What? Where would I put it on a tier list? C tier. I'm gonna put it C tier with the other one. I should 100% put it in D or F tier. I'm gonna be honest. It kind of deserves D tier, but again, the Pop Goes the Weasel really just stands out so much, and that song does creep me out. So, anyways, I'm gonna say that Laughing Jack deserves C tier at the most. So here we go again. We've got another story about a person who becomes a murderer. Ticci Toby. Not to be mistaken with Ricky Ticci Toby, okay? Now that's a different story entirely. Why am I putting on a fucking Boston accent when I get to this shit? Or is it like New York? Whatever. Anyways, Ticci Toby. They call him Ticci Toby because the motherfucker has tics. Because he's got, what the fuck is it called? Tourette's. You know, you remember the guy from back in like the early 2000s on YouTube who had Tourette's? Tourette's guy? Yeah. that he's got fucking Tourette's. He's been in a car accident. Half his face is fucking slashed. He's got cuts and bruises all over him. And I'm gonna be honest, I can't take this one seriously because anytime I see the picture, I just think it's a fucking Dream SMP character. Probably fit in with Dream, honestly. He's the right age. Pretty much, he suffers from PTSD. He fucking hates his dad because his dad got drunk and he was like, oh, I didn't go see my daughter the day that she fucking died when she was in the fucking hospital because I was fucking drunk. And so he's like, wow, I really fucking hate you, dad. Bam, 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 stab him. It's stupid. I don't know, man. I'm realizing a lot of these early, and I mean early, 2010s or 2009 to like 2010, whatever, these creepypastas are stupid. Like they're dumb. Okay, so immediately I'm gonna tell you this is D tier. All right, the story is dumb, the character is dumb looking, and I'm really getting sick and tired of these fucking humanoid characters. Okay, just stop, fucking stop. No more. You can't make it interesting whatsoever. And especially when you don't have the same thing that Jeff the Killer had. Okay, Jeff the Killer had a fucking image that you cannot find the origin of whatsoever. People have tried countless times to figure out where the origin of the Jeff the Killer image is from. Nobody can. Okay, and that's what makes it really fucking creepy. But Ticci Toby doesn't have that. It's just got art and cosplay. A lot of cosplay. It's just dumb. Herobrine. Whoa, what the fuck? Whoa! Dude, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't know that fucking happened. That's so cool. What? There's no shitty acting here. That is genuine. Like, I didn't know that come off. I didn't know that could come off. Anyways, enough of the fucking prop humor. Because why would I do that when I literally have this here to also prove that I love Minecraft? Anyways, Herobrine. Okay, so Herobrine, I'm immediately gonna tell you, is S tier. Now, this is where people are going to really hate me, because Herobrine probably doesn't deserve S tier. Why would I put Herobrine at S tier? Man, I can only fucking wonder why I would put Herobrine at S tier. Herobrine is the story of a glitch in the... Herobrine is the story of a glitch in the game Minecraft, where some dude was just playing on a single player world and he saw another player who had like white soulless eyes and was just standing there, and I think he says something in a message. I don't quite fucking remember. Anyways, when he asked Notch about it, Notch had not really much to say, because originally at the time Notch was the creator of Minecraft. If you didn't know that, now you know. And he asked Notch, oh, did you have a dead brother by chance? Or, sorry, did you have a brother by chance? And he's like, yeah, but he's no longer with us. Notch later went ahead and said that that's not true. He doesn't have a brother who is no longer with us. And Herobrine was never in the game. But that aside, it took on a life of its own. People would make mods about it. People would make fan art about it. People fucking loved the Herobrine story. And honestly, my favorite thing about this is that, and fuck Microsoft for getting rid of this, with every single patch of the Java, or with every single update for Java Minecraft, they would always end it with, and removed Herobrine. Every single time that they would release an update. And that was so fucking cool. I loved Mojang for that. But then they stopped because Microsoft, I guess, is fucking boring and doesn't like creepypastas. Fuck you. Anyways, Herobrine is S tier. I do not care what you say. Moving on. So if Herobrine wasn't already a #1 S tier, we've got another one that I'm going to tell you right off the bat. This is S tier. And there's a really good reason as to why. Most of these stories that I've told you so far are pretty simple, pretty basic. Yes, they have pictures to go with them. Yes, they're about a singular character, what have you. But this one plays on history. And as you can already tell, I'm a huge history buff. So, the way that this one goes is essentially these Russians, I believe it was during World War II, sometime in the late 1940s, decided to run experiments on test subjects where they would force them to stay awake for an entire month, using a gas that worked as some kind of like stimulant to keep them awake. And it kind of just details each, like, every 3 to 5 days what happens to the people, to the test subjects. So it starts out pretty normal, you know, like the first 3 or 5 days, they're just like, man, hey, you know, let's talk about our feelings. How are you doing? I'm doing okay. And after the next 5 days, they start throwing their feces at those, sticking their feces on the glass panes and then slapping fucking magazines on it. And then after another 5 days, they run around screaming their fucking heads off, ruining their fucking vocal cords. And then after that, because it keeps going, you know, they're watching these people, they're like, wow, man, that's awful what's going on in there. Should we stop? No, let's stop. Let's just keep going. And I believe it was like after 14 days, the room in which they're all in just goes completely silent. And they're like, that's a little strange. Maybe we should go in and interfere. And they go over the intercom and they're like, hey, we're gonna get in there. And they're like, no, we don't want to be saved. Leave us alone. Keep us awake, you know? And they're like, well, no, we're going in there because that don't sound right. And when they go in, the scene's horrific. One of them's dead. His body parts all over the fucking place. It's a horrifying scene. And in the end is kind of where I personally think it falls off just a little bit. And in the end, the last surviving test subject, because they all die of like heart problems or whatever, because they've been kept awake for so long, only to finally be put to sleep, so their heart just stops, I guess. The last remaining test subject says to the scientist, "We are the madness that lurks within you all." And most people would be like, well, that's a cool fucking, that's a cool final thing to say or whatever. Like a cool final line before the dude gets fucking you know, a cool final line before they finally kill the guy. And then he goes, I was so close. I was almost free. And that's kind of just where I was like, you had something. It was kind of cool. I don't know how I really feel about the I am the madness that lurks within you all kind of fucking thing to end it off on, but whatever. Still, despite that, I'm going to put the Russian sleep experiment in S tier. Now, here's the thing, right? The Russian sleep experiment doesn't really explain what this image is, because it doesn't tell you anything about anybody looking like that, but you can just assume that was originally where the author was probably going to try to go, but then it was like, well, how do I get there? I don't know. So he kind of wrote a different story, but everybody knows this image and it's terrifying. That's the shit that keeps you up at night. So that's why it's S tier. It's because of that image alone. Okay, that image creeps me the fuck out. Okay, so the Smiling Man. This is another one that has taken on a life of its own. Okay, originally just being a creepypasta from, I'm pretty sure it was No Sleep, is some guy was just walking down the street. He sees a dude at the end of the sidewalk who's just kind of like looking, not really drunk, not really high, just insane, and he's smiling the entire time. And you know, obviously that would creep anybody out. Just a random dude standing and just smiling. But then the dude starts dancing, and you know, he starts going back into the shadows. Of course, the author's like, oh, okay, cool, he's out of here. And then he notices that he's not backing away anymore. He's running at him. And obviously at that point, anybody in their right mind would be like, all right, I'm getting the fuck out of here. It doesn't matter if you're buff. It doesn't matter if you've got a gun. It doesn't matter. Well, actually, if you did have a gun, you'd probably turn and shoot. Anyways, it doesn't matter. You're running the fuck away. Your fight or flight is immediately into, like, it takes over. But that's it. That's the original story of the Smiling Man. But then obviously it takes a life of its own, and people are like, oh, well, I saw the Smiling Man here. I saw the Smiling Man there. And it became a myth. It became a myth in of it. I can't speak. It becomes a myth in and of itself. There we go. I got the words out. And it like I said, it takes a life of its own, and people are kind of like, is it real? Does he actually exist? I mean, he's even featured in fucking Fallout 76, as shit as that game is. So there's a lot of theories around who the Smiling Man is, because of course there are. And I'm not going to go into those. I'm just going to tell you where it started and what exactly he is. It's not like he kills anybody. It's just that he runs at you and scares the shit out of you. So where exactly would I put the Smiling Man on a tier list? I'm going to put the Smiling Man on A tier. Here's the thing, right? It's a very believable story, and it's something that could happen to anybody. Like, I'm sure if you're just walking the streets in New York City, you're going to run into some dude who's on bath salts, and he's smiling creepily, and he'll just fucking run at you and maybe eat your fucking guts. Who knows? Anyways, it's a very believable story, but that's really all there is to it. Again, it's one of those things where I would love to put it on S tier because, again, like it holds a lot of credence to it, but it's just a guy. That's really all there is to it. It's a guy. It's a creepy guy. He's on bath salts. That's really all there is to it. Nothing more, nothing less. But again, because of the fact that it is creepy and it does take on a life of its own and became its own mythos. Yeah, I'd give it A tier because of that. So this is where we kind of get into one of the more popular and well-known genres of creepypastas, which is lost media, which usually when you hear lost media, you're like, oh, lost media that you can find, you know, like stuff like that one Lost Sesame Street episode that was about the witch or whatever, or the witch from The Wizard of Oz. No, this is just fan-made shit where somebody was just like, you know, I remember this episode of The Simpsons where Bart decided, all right, I'm going to open up this window on this plane, flies out. It's footage of his fucking body just... And here's one that's going to stick for every single part of this genre. Hyper-realistic photo of his body. Yeah, you're going to hear that a lot in any of these lost media kind of things. Anyways, you see Bart fall out of the airplane. He dies, and then that's it. Obviously, they show his funeral, whatnot, blah, blah, blah. And if you try to ask Mac, I think it's Matt Groening about it, he'll be all like, oh, no, don't fucking talk to me about that shit, all right? That pisses me off. Don't ask anybody who worked on The Simpsons about it, because they'll get very mad and they won't talk to you. That's how the story goes. That's what the story tells you, okay? They say, don't ask anybody about it, okay? Because they'll get mad at you. They'll be pissed. You don't want them to be pissed at you. So it's kind of a, here's the story. Don't actually believe it. That's kind of their sign of saying that. Anyways, it's kind of stupid. And what I really like is the fact that the picture that's very infamous, or I guess the picture that is really well known and tied to dead Bart, is a picture of Homer Simpson melting from an actual episode of The Simpsons. I don't know why. I'm pretty sure anybody who's watched The Simpsons has seen that, and it's just like, that's Homer. Wait, I gotta rank it D tier because it is so stupid, and it's like, I don't know. Any recreation of it is just cheaply made. It's just they have heavy VHS effects that are so clearly made, and I'm pretty sure at the time it wasn't After Effects. It was like Sony Vegas or something, and it's so poorly done, and it looks so stupid. I don't know, something about it is just not believable. And again, they go for the very cheap, it's hyper realistic. It's a hyper realistic depiction of Bart's body being dead and shit, and it's whatever. It's stupid. I hate it. I just want to move on from it. Let's get to the next one, please. Abandoned by Disney. So this one actually, it's another one that kind of has some credence to it. This one's less of lost footage and more of stuff that's lost to time. So back in, like, I think they say the 1990s, Disney was working on making a Mowgli's Palace kind of resort for people to stay at. But then it got abandoned, and Disney tried to cover it up, paying off Google to get rid of any search results, so on and so forth, whatever. And this is a true story, by the way. There is somebody has gone to the resort that was closed. I'm pretty sure it was actually Treasure Island, but I don't remember exactly. But they've been to the resort. There's something online. I'll probably like show clips of it as I'm talking, where somebody visits the place that was abandoned. But the creepypasta itself takes form where the creepypasta itself pretty much goes over the dude visiting this area, and he stumbles into the basement or something where he finds a bunch of mascots just littering the whole room. And for whatever reason, he sees a photo negative Mickey Mouse costume laying on the floor. As for why it was photo negative, don't ask me. And don't ask the writer of the story. I'm sure he won't tell you either. So he steps over the photo negative Mickey. He crushes some skull, and the next thing he knows, he hears the photo negative Mickey just get up. And he looks, and the photo negative Mickey goes, "Want to see my head come off?" And sure enough, just starts taking off his head, and the dude screams and runs. And yeah, that's where the entire thing ends. That's it. As for why Mickey is photo negative, don't fucking ask me. I don't know. I can't tell you. At the time, I'm pretty sure a lot of people were creeped out by this, but I personally think the whole want to see my head come off? Like, I don't know. Something about that just, like, it makes me laugh to imagine, and it's so stupid. So I'm gonna have to put it at D tier. There's no explaining it. You know exactly why. I just told you the story, and you can figure out why I would put that at D tier. Here's the really interesting thing about the Backrooms, especially it being an entry into the Creepypasta. The first tier entry of the Creepypasta Iceberg is, I never really considered the Backrooms to be a creepypasta. I mean, I'm sure that there are creepypastas about the Backrooms that are very popular and well known. But the Backrooms is an SCP. Okay, yeah, the Backrooms have taken on a life of their own. Like, everybody at this point knows what the Backrooms are. There's that whole kind of like found footage. What is it called? There's that whole analog horror series about the Backrooms. Everybody knows that. Yeah, it's very, very well known at this point. But it's the most recent entry on this tier that started, I'm pretty sure it started like 2018 is when the Backrooms became a huge thing. So it's probably like the most recent entry on this tier. But the Backrooms, it's pretty much just, clip into these rooms that are liminal spaces that have no life, no nothing. And I say no life, no nothing. There's definitely creatures that inhabit these areas that you go through. Like, there's different layers. I don't know how many layers there are, but either way, it doesn't matter because you're never getting out of it. It's infinitely looping. You are stuck in the Backrooms forever. So yeah, that's what the Backrooms are. Anyways, I would have to put the Backrooms at A tier. I can't really give the Backrooms an S tier as much as I kind of want to, only because I'm contrarian and, you know, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, okay? The Backrooms has been oversaturated to hell and back, okay? I have not stopped hearing about the Backrooms ever since that analog horror has started. Don't get me wrong, it's really well done, okay? It's very, very amazing, especially for the person's age. But it's oversaturated and I can't stop hearing about the Backrooms and it's really fucking annoying. So I'm sorry, I can't give it S tier. I'm going to give it A tier. Again, yes, I know, how very contrarian of me. Moving forward, before I talk about this, before I show any picture of this, I'm going to give a warning to my girlfriend because she hates Sonic.exe with a passion. So go ahead and skip forward to the next chapter because I know that this is your least favorite. So, Sonic.exe. This is another entry into the whole lost... No, it's not really an entry in the lost media. This is probably one of the first entries that's a playable game. But it's not like the first one that came out, because I'm pretty sure POLYBIUS is the first one to be playable, and it came out before Sonic.exe if I recall correctly, but we'll get to POLYBIUS later on. Sonic.exe is it's an exe, which is a game, where it's pretty much based off Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And it's supposed to be corrupted and creepy and like haunted or whatever. Where you start off as playing as Tails, and Tails runs along the Green Hill Zone, and he sees a bunch of like dead bodies littering the whole area until he runs up upon Sonic, and Sonic has like black eyes with red pupils. It's just your typical horror stuff back in the day. Yeah. That's the whole Sonic.exe. It's playable, and there's a lot of YouTubers that back in the day played it, like Markiplier fucking played it. So if you're really curious about Sonic.exe and you really don't want to play it for yourself, you can watch somebody else play it. But if you do want to play it for yourself, go out there and fucking download it. I know it's somewhere. I have it on my computer, okay? I was really interested in it back in the day. So, Sonic.exe. I'm going to get some hate for this, and I know I am. I'm going to have to give it C tier. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome, okay? You can play the game for yourself. You can see everything that the writer is talking about within the creepypasta, all of that. It's really cool. But I'm currently 24, and that shit does not scare me anymore. For the time, it was really scary, but nowadays it's just not that scary. It's cheesy as fuck, and I've played games that are way scarier. It's like I'm playing Doki Doki Literature Club again. So yeah, I'm sorry, Sonic.exe is just not that creepy anymore. I'm gonna just give it C tier. Moving on. Lavender Town Syndrome is... Well, if you've ever heard the Lavender Town theme, which I'm probably currently playing in the background of this video, talks about how the theme for Lavender Town is so creepy. It's so it fucks with you mentally, to the point where there were a lot of kids who played Pokemon. I'm pretty sure it was like red, green, and blue. I might be wrong. There were a lot of kids aged like 7 and up who played Pokemon Red, Green, and Blue, who came across Lavender Town, and when they heard the music, it just caused them to kill themselves. That's it. That's the entire creepypasta. That's all it talks about. And that in and of itself is really horrifying. And again, the song is pretty creepy, and it makes sense, because if you know anything about Lavender Town, you know the background, you know the history, you know exactly why the theme is creepy. Yeah, it fucking haunts you no matter what your age is. It is a pretty dope song, but it is creepy. So where would I rank this one? I'm gonna rank it pretty low. I'm gonna rank this one C tier. The only reason is because you know, it's not true. It's just fake. It's also kind of silly because, again, like I said, yes, the song is creepy, but it's not gonna cause somebody to just fucking kill themselves, especially if they're 7 years old. I don't know. There wasn't really much explanation into why they would, especially 7-year-olds. How the fuck does a 7-year-old kill himself? So yeah, it's kind of silly. It's kind of stupid, but that's really all there is to it. I'm just gonna put it at C tier, and we're gonna move on. If you're wondering where I rank this because of this, it's not as high as you think it is. This is another one of those ones where it's lost footage or lost media that's been found, where it's a 2-minute clip of this. That's it for 2 whole minutes. It's just a clip of Squidward with those dark eyes and like black shit behind them. Maybe it's red shit. I don't remember. Not actual shit. And it's supposed to be hyper realistic eyes and hyper realistic blood, and it's supposed to be creepy. And there's like, I'm pretty sure there's screaming audio to go with it. I don't remember exactly. But that's it for a whole 2 minutes. That's the entire clip. That's all there is to it. I don't remember exactly what the creepypasta story was. Maybe it's something to do with Squidward killing himself. But personally, the image doesn't have the same effect as it did back in the day. If I saw that image when I was like 11 or 12, oh yeah, that shit scared the fuck out of me. Don't get me wrong. I didn't grow up with SpongeBob at all. People are going to hate me for that one. I didn't grow up with SpongeBob. My parents hated it, so I don't really have that close of a connection with SpongeBob. But when I did see this shit when I was like younger, I was a little teen, I was like, that shit's scary. I don't like that. But again, now at the age of 24, I see that, I'm like, meh, it's not that scary. So C tier. It's nothing much. It's, again, sorry, not C tier, D tier. Again, it's not much, okay? But for the time, it has a lot of cultural impact, okay? Squidward suicide has a lot of cultural impact. I mean, they even referenced it in one of the SpongeBob episodes. It was like, Squidward sees a lot of open doors, and within one of them it's flashing like a bunch of different versions of Squidward, and one of them is like the Squidward suicide Squidward. So yeah, that's it. I just want to move on from this one. It's D tier. It's not that great. It holds a lot of cultural impact, sure, but it's lame. There's nothing much to it. Moving on. So, speaking of heavy cultural impact, Ted the Caver. Now, Ted the Caver it's a really long read. I want to say it's maybe like an hour, 2 hours long. But it's one that I personally love and hate because I have claustrophobia and I fucking hate caving stories. If you've ever heard about the Nutty Putty Cave, yeah, that shit kept me up for a while because I hated it. I really do just not understand what causes a person to think, you know what? I'm a go spelunking. You're either white or you have some mental illness or both. But Ted the Caver it's a story of some dude who goes down a cave, finds Floyd's tomb, which is based off the one caver named Floyd Collins, who found a really cool cave and got stuck in it. And they were like, well, that shit sucks. All right, bury the motherfucker in there. And he was alive for like, I want to say like maybe a week. They tried to keep him alive for a week until eventually he died. I might be getting that story wrong. I'm going to put in the comments any correction that I need for anything, especially this. But in Ted the Caver, they find this hole, and it's like probably about yay big. which is not enough for anybody to fit into. So they're like, you know what? We're going to go back down there. We're going to bring out a DeWalt drill. We're going to start fucking opening this hole until eventually we can fit ourselves inside of it and see what's on the other end, because there's got to be something in there. At one point, they bring a dog in. Do not ask me why. Obviously, the reason that they bring the dog in is because they want to put the dog in the hole and have the dog tell them what they see. Wait, how is a dog going to tell you? How is a dog going to tell you what it sees? It's a fucking dog. They want to put the dog in the hole. And for what reason? I don't know. I don't know why. Because what is the dog going to relay for information? But as they're digging, or as they're trying to open this hole, they start hearing sounds. And at one point they hear what sounds like a woman screaming, or what sounds like the mix of a man screaming and I think he said like a mountain lion screaming. And obviously any normal person would be like, nope, I'm getting the fuck out of here. But Ted is like, nope, I'm gonna keep digging. Clearly there's something interesting on the other side of this hole. So he keeps digging, he's opening the hole, and eventually they manage to get it wide enough to where they can fit somebody inside. And it just so happens that they go with somebody, I'm pretty sure his name is Joe, and Joe is like, yeah, sure, dude, I'll go inside the hole. And he's skinnier and he can fit inside the hole better than Ted can. So Joe goes inside the hole, and I believe they say like 10 to 15 minutes later, Joe comes back, and he's white, he's pale. Clearly whatever was inside there shook him so bad that he does not want to go back into that hole. So Ted's like, well, clearly Joe is just a pussy, so I'm gonna go in there by myself. So him and his friend, they go back. Ted goes into the cave, and he's got a rope, obviously, to pull him back out. And he's going along the rope, and suddenly something starts tugging at him. And it's tugging at his legs, and it's like it's trying to pull him. And his light breaks and everything, and it's really, really terrifying, until eventually Ted manages to escape and get pulled back outside of the hole, and he leaves. He vows never to go back to the cave ever again. But then it starts keeping him up at night. He starts suffering from PTSD. He starts imagining something like running around his house. You know, some fucking gremlin or whatever is just like, so he's like, you know what? I guess we got to go back to the hole. And that's it. That's where the story ends. It's about like a 2-hour read. That's the best I can summarize it for you. But it's horrifying. It's horrifying to imagine, like, going spelunking, period. I'm sorry. I can't imagine going into a cave. I'm not that white. So that's really the story of Ted the Caver. It's a horrifying story. As somebody who has claustrophobia, I don't want to fuck with caves. I'm not going near a cave. So that story holds a lot of fear for me personally, where I'm like, well, I can't imagine that situation and me getting stuck in the fucking cave. But that would never happen because I'm never going near a fucking cave. Anyways, moving on. Oh, where would I rank Ted the Caver? So Ted the Caver, I'm going to put it S tier because it has a lot of pictures to back a lot of this story. At a point, the pictures stop, and it kind of just becomes like drawings of what's happening. But for the most part, there are a lot of pictures to back up everything being said. Like the hole becoming bigger, Ted actually fitting himself inside of the hole, their friend Joe that wants to go inside the hole, or like he does go inside the hole. Yeah, everything has pictures to go with it. So it adds a lot more credence to the Ted the Caver story. So S tier. And it's got a lot of cultural impact. So yeah, really great story. Definitely worth a read. or go listen to somebody else read the story, because there's definitely a lot of people who have read the story at this point. But yeah, Ted the Caver, S tier, 100%. The Rake is pretty much just a skinwalker that sits at the edge of your bed. He's like a sleep paralysis demon. That's really all he is. So I'm going to immediately tell you that the Rake goes in D tier because, yeah, has humble beginnings as a creature that came off of the, I'm pretty sure it's the paranormal boards on 4chan, where this one dude was just like, hey, let's come up with these cool creatures, these cool, horrific, terrifying creatures. And he just made this one image of a white creature with no eyes and like, you know, fangs and shit. And everybody was like, wait, that's cool. I like that. Let's make a story about this guy. And so there's an entire creepypasta about like dating back to the 1600s, of people who just have had encounters with him, and they're all like, wow, he's really terrifying and he keeps me up at night and he's scary, whatever, blah 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 blah. It's stupid. You just took an already existing fucking mythos, you took the skinwalker and just recreated him, and you were like, the Rake, yeah, whoopee, that's it, that's all you did. There's nothing interesting about this character. C tier, D tier, fuck it, I don't care. I hate it. I don't find it interesting. The picture's not scary. Fuck you. Moving on, we have POLYBIUS. Now, I want so badly to put POLYBIUS at S tier because it's fucking awesome. Okay, let me just go ahead and just tell you what POLYBIUS is in case you don't know. First of all, there's a really good 2-hour-long video about POLYBIUS by Ahoy. It details everything that you need to know about POLYBIUS, including its origin and whatnot. But I'm gonna tell you everything about it from my memory anyways. POLYBIUS is an arcade cabinet that just randomly appeared in, I believe, the 80s. A lot of people would walk up to it and they became addicted to it. There were like long queues of people who just were like, oh my god, this game's awesome, I want to play it. And it played pretty much like Galaga or any of those other arcade. At some point after the queues would end, there would just be people, like men dressed in black, who would come over and collect data from the arcade cabinet. And there were a lot of theories that it was just like an FBI plant, like they planted it there to for whatever reason. But there were a lot of side effects that came with playing the game: amnesia, insomnia, night terrors, as well as just straight up suicide. Like people would kill themselves because of this game. So really interesting creepypasta about POLYBIUS. But again, I never really saw POLYBIUS as a creepypasta. I saw it more as just like a myth that was created on the internet, which that's kind of what a creepypasta is. But I don't know, I find it really, really interesting. I can't put it, so POLYBIUS, I want to put it at S tier so badly. Okay, it's so good. It's so interesting. You know, like the people killing themselves and all of that over the game, and then the men in black coming over and like taking data from the game, and also the fact that you can play the game. There is an existing copy of the game just so you can make your own like POLYBIUS cabinet or whatever. But obviously that's not the original or whatever, blah blah blah. But you know, it's what also I find really cool about it is the whole POLYBIUS thing dates all the way back to 2003, if I remember correctly. And so it's really, really one of the earliest like video game creepypastas on the internet. So personally, I'm gonna put POLYBIUS at S tier. I was so close to putting it at A tier, but everything about it is just so cool, especially the fact that, again, it's playable, and there's a lot that you can dig deep into for it. Like if you download the zip for it, there's a lot of game files that you can find. And I don't know. There's a lot about it that's really cool personally. But obviously it's a myth, it's a legend, doesn't exist. Yeah. That's really all I have to say about it. I would say if you want to hear way more in-depth stuff about Polybius, there's, like I said, an entire 2-hour-long video by Ahoy that covers it in depth, way better in depth than I can here. But there's a lot of shit about it. A lot of stories, a lot of people who actually believed it, and a lot of people who probably didn't believe it and wanted to try to make it more believable. Anyways, it's cool. I love it. I love Polybius. Moving on. Next up is username 666. Look, this one's more of like a trip down memory lane when it comes to YouTube, because this one's, I want to say it's like 12 years old. I can't remember exactly. But it's kind of like one of those first YouTube like horror videos. Pretty much all it is some person goes to YouTube, types in the search bar, well, not search bar, they type in the URL 666, you know, because that's how you get to channels on YouTube, or at least you used to. And they find themselves on a channel that is, it looks pretty plain at first. None of the videos are really showing up, but the more they refresh it, the darker, like, it becomes almost like a sea of blood covering the screen. And then they click on one of the videos that they have on the channel, and it's just a woman drowning in a sea of blood. And yeah, that's it. It's just blood. Wow, so scary, right? Well, okay, let me go ahead and close out of the tab. Well, tab not closing. Okay, let me go ahead and close out of the browser. Browser not closing. Control Alt Delete doesn't work. Let me go ahead and shut down my computer, and that doesn't work. That's the entire story. That's really all it is. It's kind of stupid, and so I'm gonna put it at C tier, because yes, it's stupid, but it is kind of impactful. It's kind of close to home for early YouTube days. So in a way, it's cheesy, it's dumb, but I still love it no matter what. I want to do a reading of this so badly. I'll probably insert like an excerpt from the story somewhere in here. But pretty much, I am a search and rescue officer. Well, let me read the whole title. Why don't I? I'm a search and rescue officer for the U.S. Forest Service. I have some stories to tell. So this was a Reddit post, Reddit thread, technically. It was a post that was made on the No Sleep forum, or on the No Sleep subreddit, as most of these creepypastas are. And it follows a search and rescue officer who finds, obviously it details like the creepiest things that happen as they're doing their job, which ranges from just somebody getting stuck in a tree to what I think is probably the most famous part of the story, and it's the stairs in the woods. And so obviously when they start it, they tell you all the normal creepy stuff that happens, and then they end it with, this is the creepiest thing that I'm going to tell you about, and it's the stairs in the woods, you know. And it's one of the things that's most famous about this story, because the picture of a normal modern day house staircase in the middle of the woods is just unnerving. And to make it even creepier, the person says everybody that they ask who works in the search and rescue team, if you ask them about it, they'll just be like, don't worry about it, who cares. But if you try to approach it, they'll immediately stop you, and they'll say, don't ever get near those stairs. And so the whole story, it's way longer than Ted the Caver, by the way. This has to be at least like a 4-hour read. I assume, I don't know. I've read all of it. I've listened to people read it. Most I'd say is like 2 hours, but 4 hours is kind of an over exaggeration. It depends on how quick you read, but I personally think it's one of the creepiest. There's definitely a lot of parts in the story that I really want to read to you about, where, you know, they tell you exactly what it is that you should be scared of when it comes to these stairs in the woods. I love it. So obviously you can already guess where I'm gonna put this. A tier. Yeah, don't get me wrong, right? It's really creepy, and it's really good. It's really well written, but the story has a lot of flaws to it, and I'll get to those if I were to cover it all in a story. But I can't. I want so badly to cover the entire thing, but I can't. There's just a lot of inconsistencies in the story. There's a lot of issues that I have with it, where yes, it should be S tier because it's got a lot of cultural impact, but because of some of these inconsistencies, I'm gonna have to put it at A tier. I also don't like the fact that the writer constantly goes, yeah, I'm not gonna talk about the stairs in the woods, guys. This is it. I'm done talking about the stairs in the woods. And then in the next story goes, so the stairs in the woods, guys. And it's corny with that, at least. Still, it's really well written. I like it. It's got a lot of cultural impact, so A tier. So, Smile Dog, or Smile.dog, or Smile.jpg, whatever it is that you want to call it, is pretty infamous for the picture alone. Okay, the picture is pretty fucking creepy, okay, guys? I'm sorry, but a husky with a bloody mouth is terrifying. To me, at least, it's terrifying, okay? I love dogs. I'm not really a dog person. I'm more of a cat person, but it's creepy. So, I don't think the creepypasta itself needed to exist. I think you could have just stuck with the picture of the dog. Don't tell any story. Don't set a story for it. Just leave it as a picture. Leave it to the interpretation. But of course, there's a story that follows. Okay, and the story is just, it's a bunch of entries from like emails, whatever, blah, 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 about the dog. I don't care. But the image itself is terrifying. Because, first of all, nobody can find the original image itself. No matter what. There's no origin. Whoever made it remains anonymous. And that kind of makes it terrifying. Like, the first ever image of this Smile dog just so happens to not have any known history to it whatsoever, outside of the very first creepypasta. So, I think that's pretty terrifying. I like that. So, would I want to put it in B tier? Would I want to put it in like A tier? Yeah, I kind of do, because the image is creepy. The image itself is a good creepypasta. But the story brings it down, of course. But again, like I said, well, hey, there's no origin to the image. That's terrifying. Again, the origin being that story. It's bad. It's terrible. Womp womp. So, just like Jeff the Killer, I gotta put it in B tier. I really wanted to put it in A tier, but I gotta put it in B tier. It is better than Jeff the Killer, though. That's for sure. I didn't really know whether or not I wanted to cover this one, because yes, it's an entry on this iceberg, but I never really found SCP to be a creepypasta. I guess in a way it is. But when I think of creepypastas, I think of like Slenderman or Jeff the Killer or shit like that, right? But SCP is a amalgamation of just random entities, random stories. Like a fucking teapot could be a goddamn SCP. I'm pretty sure there is one that is. And a lot of these entries that I've covered so far could even be SCPs themselves. Like fucking Jeff the Killer could be an SCP. I don't know. And that's kind of the beauty of SCP in itself. So again, I never really saw it as a creepypasta. I saw it more of an amalgamation of creepypastas. But since it's on this tier list, let's talk about it. SCP stands for Secure, Contain, Protect. Yes. And pretty much all it is a bunch of entities that aren't of this world, but you can find in this world. I mentioned earlier the Backrooms. The Backrooms is an SCP. And the very first SCP that was ever created, which I absolutely love, wasn't even SCP-001. It was SCP-173. And SCP-173 is that stupid little doll thing that you've probably seen a million times with his whole ass out, which is an actual sculpture, by the way. But this actual sculpture, the original person who made the sculpture, he saw it being used and was just like, you know, I would be mad, but I like what's going on here. Just don't make any money off of it and you can keep using it. So SCP has been a non-profit, no commercial whatsoever site where it's like a Wikipedia of just entities. And I love that. I love it a lot. Like, anybody can put an entry in. It just has to be approved by admins. So SCP Foundation has spawned like a lot of video games. It's got a life of its own. It's great. It's fantastic. S tier. Easily S tier. Are you fucking kidding me? SCP Foundation is one of the best, if it is a creepypastas to ever grace the internet. I fucking love it. I love being able to delve into the Wikipedia and find all of these different entities that they talk about. You can just hit random and appear on a random SCP, and you're like, wow, that's cool. I love reading about them. I love hearing the descriptions of them. I love seeing the pictures of them. Everything about it's awesome. So, SCP Foundation, S tier. So earlier I talked about Sonic.exe, and Sonic.exe has definitely been pretty impactful on creepypastas as a whole, especially video game creepypastas. Ben Drowned is one of my favorite creepypastas to ever exist. Now, if you've ever heard of Petscop, it's kind of like Petscop, where they're all just recorded entries about this game, but this game isn't a game that doesn't exist. In fact, it's a pre-existing game. Kind of like Sonic.exe was. Ben Drowned is about Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And I'm pretty sure it's Majora's Mask. Anyways, from what I can remember, Ben Drowned started because some dude bought a copy of Majora's Mask from a garage sale. And somewhere in launching the game, he saw that there were 3 different save files. One of which was named Ben. And he was like, well, I don't need your pre-existing files. Let me go ahead and delete all of them. So he deletes all of them, starts a new game, and he instantly notices that something's not right about it. He's not starting off on the first day the way that you normally would. Everything about the entire thing is glitchy, and suddenly he stumbles upon the effigy of Life, I believe it is, which is an actual statue that exists in the game, which is supposed to be like a mimic of Link or whatever. I don't remember exactly. It's been forever since I played the game. But he sees this, and that's when things start getting weird. He can talk to the statue. The statue talks about how one of the files that he deleted was about a kid named Ben who was originally playing the game, but then Ben drowned, and now Ben is in the game and he is that statue. So yes, the story is pretty stupid. Let's all be a little bit honest here. And obviously it's very easy to debunk. It's a modded version of the Majora's Mask game. But it's cool. It's really fucking cool, okay? I'm sorry. Being able to do all of that, to mod the game that way, and then not only mod the game in that way, but record it, put it out there, have people actually believe that it's just a glitched version of your game, or a haunted version of the game. It's just so fucking cool. Everything about it was awesome, and I remember believing it as a kid. Like, everything about it terrified me. That was the first thing that kept me awake late at night, thinking about when I first stumbled upon it on my Zune in my bed at like 2 in the morning on summer. Yeah, I fucking remember everything about that day. It's just, it's a terrifying story that, yes, just like, okay, this is where people are going to call me a hypocrite, or they're going to call me out on this. Yes, there are bits of it that are not very consistent. Yes, sometimes the story isn't super well written. So where should it be placed? Probably B tier. I'm going to put it at S tier because it has a lot of cultural impact, and it's something that haunted me as a kid and I fucking love. And I really want to revisit it. I did revisit some of it for this video just so I could jog my memory a little bit. But I really wanted to talk about it from memory more than anything. So, yes. Ben Drowned easily gets S tier because it has a lot of impact. And I'm just going to say it. I'm pretty sure it's what led to Petscop even being, like, thought about. You know, what led to it being an idea in someone's head. Because there are a lot of similarities between the two. Outside of... The only difference being that, like, Petscop is an entirely, like, original creation. Meanwhile, Ben Drowned splits off from Majora's Mask to be its own thing. Yeah, it spawned a lot of mimics, a lot of people creating stories similar to this one, like Sonic.exe as well as this one about Mario. I can't remember exactly. I think it's somewhere in the next tier. I'll talk about it later. But yeah, it's got a lot of cultural impact. Very well done. Every bit of it's on YouTube. You can go and watch it for yourself. I love it. Okay, so suicidemouse.avi is super simple. I'm going to go ahead and just like boil it down to what it is. Essentially, it's just this video of Mickey. It's a black and white video of Mickey walking for 9 whole fucking minutes. 9 whole minutes, by the way, of Mickey just walking along a backdrop of like a town or whatever. And as he's walking throughout the whole thing, the town becomes like dilapidated, you know, it's on fire. There's buildings that are broken and shit, until eventually Mickey's mouth just turns into a grin. All of the buildings are you know, they're destroyed, they're on fire, and Mickey's, you know, he's walking along it. And the more that the buildings grow to become destroyed and on fire, Mickey's mouth becomes like a grin for whatever reason. And he continues walking, and then eventually, for whatever reason, whips out a fucking knife, I guess, and then like stabs himself or something, and then he falls over dead. And he falls over kind of like the Sonic animation when he drowns, you know, like whoop. And it's stupid. I'm sorry, guys. It's stupid. The only cool thing about it is that the username of the person who uploaded it is username 666, which is a really cool callback. But other than that, the only creepy thing about it would be the screaming that goes on in the background. That's it. It's really all there is to it. It's supposed to be like some kind of found lost media. I guess it's cool because it is an original creation. Obviously, somebody put a lot of effort into it. But I gotta give it D tier. It's not that interesting. I didn't really care for it. Oh, I'm getting really fucking sick of Touched. This first tier is obviously all about things that everybody knows, like all the aforementioned ones. This is one I did not know about. I guess I'd seen pictures or like fan art of the character before, like a million times, but I never actually read the creepypasta itself. So, Play With Me, or Sally Williams. Sorry, I needed to pop my knee there. Play With Me, or Sally Williams, is pretty much just the story of this girl who, or this creepypasta about this girl, like 9-year-old girl, who, she gets molested by somebody, who I believe is, okay, she gets molested by the brother of her father, and tells her mother. First of all, she comes fucking crying to her mother. Okay? Her mother's like, what's wrong, sweetie? And she's just like, I didn't want to play his game. He touched me, and I had to touch him. And you know what the mother says? Which, this is, first of all, very unrealistic. But the mother goes, oh, it was just a nightmare. Everything's gonna be alright. You're fine. Whatever. No fucking mom would ever say, oh, it was just a nightmare. She'd be like, who? Who the fuck touched you? Out for blood immediately. It doesn't make any sense. Unless you're soulless. That doesn't make any sense. Anyways, so James, the brother of the father, finds out, and he's just like, okay, Sally, you didn't play along with my game. I'ma fucking kill you. Sally comes back as a ghost, and now she's haunting, and she's covered in blood, and it's on this channel. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna say, officers, I do not support the death of pedophiles. I do not support people killing pedophiles. Obviously, that's all a lie. Anyways, but I really hope that James guy fucking got his from Sally. I really hope she killed him. But this story is stupid. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's depressing. It's sad. But it's stupid. Oh, Sally came back as a ghost. Creepy, guys. Excuse me. I don't know. I don't like it. So where am I gonna place it? I'm gonna place it C tier. That's it. That's really all there is to it. This one sucks. This one's stupid. Fucking hate anything. Any of the ones that have to deal with people like this, they're all gonna be stupid. I don't really know where it is I want to put this on the tier list. But Marble Hornets, again, it's another one of those ones where I didn't know if I really wanted to cover it or not, because in a way, yes, it is a creepypasta. 100% it's a creepypasta. It's an 87... it's a video series with 87 entries to it, and I think it spans about like 6 hours long. You can find it here on YouTube if you just type in Marble Hornets. And pretty much it covers Slenderman. See, that's why it is. I felt like it doesn't really belong on the tier list, but it does because it is a creepypasta. Really, it's an ARG. But it's, you know, it's got a lot going for it. It's really cool, but it is a spin-off of Slenderman. And I like that. Honestly, I do. I like that. I like that idea of the entirety of Marble Hornets, and as well as the spin-offs, is them trying to capture Slenderman. So yeah, I mean, I like that. And again, yes, it's a creepypasta, but it's more of an ARG than anything. Really, it's more of an ARG than a creepypasta in my eyes. But I am still going to rank it. I'm still going to give it S tier because it is really well done. Everything about it, from like the first 87 entries to the other like 22, whatever the fuck, because there's like a spin-off channel. I don't remember what the name of it is. Everything about it's great. I love it. So S tier. It's really good. And it definitely has more than just Slenderman. Like, it's got that mask. I believe it's called Masky. So it's got a lot going for it. The Expressionless. Okay, so woman looks like she's a mannequin. She has no expressions whatsoever. She's brought into a hospital, and they, you know, she's got like a fucking cat clenched between her teeth. She rips it out. She fucking goes unconscious. And then she's taken into the hospital. She wakes up. Everybody's creeped out by her because she's got no fucking expression. And then when the doctor goes to sedate her, she suddenly has like this really creepy smile, and her teeth aren't teeth. They're like fucking sharp claws or whatever. The doctor's like, what the hell are you? And she goes, I am God. Yeah. That's the story. That's the Expressionless. Fucking stupid. F tier. I'm sorry. This gets the lowest fucking ranking on all of these stories. I know. What a surprise. You thought it would have been something else, but nope. This one gets it. There's nothing creepy about this. Absolutely nothing. It is stupid. Not even the picture creeps me out. I hate it. Everything about it sucks. So there you have it. That is the ending of tier 1 of this iceberg. I'm happy to be done with this first tier, to be honest. I mean, it's a trip down memory lane. It's a huge trip down memory lane, and I love it for that. But Jesus Christ, I hated delving deep into this. Holy shit. But again, this is what I originally wanted to do with my channel, was talk about creepypastas. So, you know, I'm going back to my roots, I guess. Anyways, like I said, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, comment, and go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more of this iceberg, because it's going to really help me out a lot. And it'll push me to do more. Anyways, that's it, like I said, for this first tier, and I will see you in hopefully a week, probably another month, because I gotta do a lot of research for the next tier. Anyways, see you guys later.